What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So yesterday we touched very briefly on the idea that Microsoft might move games like Call of Duty to the Switch. Well, they did also have an interview talking a bit more about that, as well as their broad plans for that Activision acquisition, and I wanted to go over some of that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about two games that have been in the rumor mill for a while now. One actually was revealed back in 2014, could even be seeing a release this year. The other one, an absolute classic from Capcom, looks like it's setting up for its grand reveal pretty soon. Guys, if you enjoyed these videos, make sure that like button helps that a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below and ring that notification bell so you can keep up to date with all of the uploads here on the channel. And we're going to start today with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. The game looks phenomenal. Obviously, a callback to something like Turtles in Time, or if you were just playing in the arcade, the TMNT arcade game. Fun stuff back then. But they have continued to release more and more trailers. I think it's a great way to continue to at least keep this game in the news, as the other day they released this trailer showing off a new playable character, that being Master Splinter. Looks great, by the way. I just like the art style and everything. It just looks like it's going to be a blast when the game comes out. And that's the biggest thing now. We've seen April O'Neil get revealed as a character, and we have Splinter. I'm just waiting for the release date. Like, I'm ready to pick this game up. They could have some other characters revealed as well leading up to it, but here's hoping we find out when we can actually buy this game and start playing, because I'm ready. Also, we did have a lot of games revealed during that Nintendo Direct, but one of them was basically Wii Sports for the Switch, that just being Nintendo Switch Sports. You have things like bowling and tennis, games that really worked to sell the Wii and push it to 100 million units. Well, we did also get some pricing details around this, and I figured this was going to be a sticking point if it was like a full price $60 game. Fortunately, it's not. On their website, you can see they have an entire like page set up for this with a ton of info. Certainly gonna be something they're looking to push, which makes sense, because if they can pull in more and more people through the casual side of things, that's just gonna continue to spike Switch sales. And obviously they can't make enough of them now, but just more demand is like, why not? And the page itself, of course, April 29th, but showing a $39.99 price tag. I have seen it be like 50 and 60 on different retailer sites. I'm still waiting for the full listings to go up, as there have been talks around like that leg strap maybe being included there. However, I think $40 is about right. I mean, it also kind of tells us the scope of this game. It's going to be the mini games that a lot of us played back on Wii Sports for the most part, with online play, which is pretty cool. But it's something that I think people will underestimate, and we get sales figures for it, and we're like, whoa, how did that get to 13 or 14 million units sold in no time flat? Well, it's basically Wii Sports. It's gonna sell. Oh, and we're quickly coming up on Horizon Forbidden West release, and it looks like we will have reviews going live next week as expected. We can see Metacritic posted this up with the embargo lifting February 14th, 12:01 a.m. Pacific time. I also want to point this out, by the way, that they do have the free upgrade. So if you're someone who's just going to buy it digitally anyway, you might as well get the PS4 version. You can actually buy it through the web browser on the PlayStation Store, and it does have listed here digital upgrade to PS5 version. After this, though, remember they said, oh, it's just going to be $10 more if you buy a PS4 game, you want to go up to the PS5 or anything like that. This just was the thing where they got kind of caught after saying that there would be an update that would be free, and then they kind of went back on that with the weird deluxe and special editions and all these different things. So really no reason, I think, to buy the PS5 version digitally. If you want it physically and you want the PS5 box to match everything else on your shelf, there you go. You'll probably pick up the $70 version, but otherwise save yourself 10 bucks here, and then leave a prediction down below what you think the Metacritic score is going to be for this one. I am thinking like an 88 or an 89 when it all averages out after about a week and all the reviews come in, but it's also very possible this could end up being like a low 90s, a 90 or 91, so let me know your best guess. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Resident Evil 4. It's one of the worst kept secrets that Resident Evil 4 is getting a remake, and I mean, if you just look at the timeline, it makes sense. We had Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, we're probably figuring, okay, Resident Evil 4, and as long as it's done right, it should sell a ridiculous amount of copies. People look at Resident Evil 4 on the GameCube or on the Wii or basically anywhere it's been released and say that's one of the best games ever made. I mean, on the GameCube, it was super impressive at the time. Still very playable now, you can go back and do that, but I think a lot of people are picking it up on newer platforms, including like the Oculus, where apparently it going into VR was a good idea, but take a look at this here. This was posted up over on Fanbyte from Imran Khan, a very good report going over some new details from that unannounced Resident Evil 4 remake. By the way, I read the subheading here that says the next game in Capcom's remake series is undergoing some changes from the original. I just thought to myself, oh no, this could go one of two ways. Either they do some very bad changes and the entire fan base just freaks out, or they could do some good changes and the entire fan base freaks out anyway. But actually, some of the changes they are posting here, I think is a good idea, because if you look at Resident Evil 4, it's kind of their move towards a more action-oriented Resident Evil, which, I mean, capped off with something like Resident Evil 6. But in Resident Evil 5, you had Chris punching boulders. But take a look at this. This is a good summary here from Novelli, and also leave the original report down in the sources, saying the village scene and a decent portion of the game take place at night now. Specifically in the beginning, they mentioned like the chase scene is all done at night, which makes sense because during the day, it's not nearly as scary when you can see off in the distance and you can kind of see different enemies and where they are and just kind of pick them off. Especially on the Wii version, it's not scary at all. It's actually extremely easy to play that game there. Say scarier and inspired by the Resident Evil 4 betas. Side characters have bigger roles. Ada's campaign will be expanded, and possibly this could be revealed early 2022. Now, it was also mentioned that some of the side campaigns would continue to be expanded on here and even kind of brought and woven together as you play through it. So a lot of interesting things there, but I like the idea of them saying, you know what, Resident Evil, it's supposed to be more of a scary game. I know when they moved to action, it really had the sales take off, which yeah, they just sell better, but Resident Evil, if you look back to how it originally was starting out to where it got to, they completely went off track with that one. So if they revisit Resident Evil 4, which we are expecting, then I'm hoping they go in that direction and just try to at least be somewhat scary. Now, the idea of it being revealed early 2022, I mean, we're there now. So the way I look at this is that part is hard to judge because things get moved around in kind of the background when they're trying to plan these things out. And we could see maybe like a Resident Evil Direct style. They've done that before with the most recent Resident Evil Village release. So, I mean, Resident Evil 4 Remake is big enough to have its own event. So why not go that route and present it when you're ready? Who knows though, maybe Sony has some sort of marketing deal around it and it could just show up in a State of Play or a PlayStation experience with maybe VR implementation, a lot of things that could happen here. So we'll keep an eye on this one, but it's certainly exciting that we could possibly be getting a brand new look at Resident Evil 4, a scarier look. I'm on board for that. Next up, let's talk about Microsoft, Activision Blizzard, and Nintendo. This was talked about in kind of their write-up that they had on the Microsoft website, not on Xbox website, Microsoft's website. And after an interview between Brad Smith, the company president, and CNBC, it started to become more apparent why they would want to get Activision Blizzard, which a lot of that has to do with the content, the developers, and all this. But it appears that Microsoft is really set on a universal app store, which would entail the Switch becoming part of that in some way. And I'm curious how they would make that work exactly. But we can see this quotation here from Brad Smith provided by IGN from the interview saying, one of the things we're being very clear about as we move forward with regulatory review of this acquisition is that great titles like Call of Duty from Activision Blizzard today will continue to be available on the Sony PlayStation. We'd like to bring it to Nintendo devices. We'd like to bring the other popular titles that Activision Blizzard has and ensure they continue to be available on PlayStation and they become available on Nintendo. Now, some of those remarks directly mirror what Brad Smith essentially typed out in that press release that went up on the Microsoft website. However, them working to expand more on this universal app store that wouldn't have priority for Microsoft applications, for example, more of just like a free app store, a free market app store, I guess. and access would be provided for all these different consoles or smart TVs now, or anything that can, I guess, connect to the internet could go to this app store and find these different apps that are cross-platform. And again, I'm not really sure how that would work exactly. If you went to an app, would you look at it and it would say, hey, your device is supported or it's not supported? So people who are developing these applications would then have to check off boxes as to what it's exactly for. I don't know. Like I said, it seems like there's a lot of stuff they have to figure out before this actually happens. And I do think it also kind of plays into the whole metaverse narrative that all these companies are pushing towards right now. One app store basically to rule them all, which means it shouldn't be surprising that they would want to put something like a Call of Duty on the Switch. And if you look at Call of Duty Mobile that's on just phones, it does extremely well. It makes a lot of money, but we've had Call of Duty games on previous Nintendo platforms like the Wii U or the Wii. Actually, a lot of people played Call of Duty Black Ops on the Wii back in the day. I remember people would come in with Wiis and get it fixed for the laser just for that game because the Black Ops disc was actually a bit harder. I think it might have been a dual layer disc for the Wii. That and Smash Bros always beat up the Wii laser. But yeah, that it's been something at least been around on some of these Nintendo platforms up until the Switch. So I guess it's going to take Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard to say, hey, we got to start at least porting or attempting, I'll say, to port some of these Call of Duty games over to the Switch, because it's hard to ignore the over 100 million users in that install base now. And Microsoft, who is all about active users and number of people who have played their games, there's a lot of people there that would probably be checking out Call of Duty. And I mean, worst case scenario, they have the cloud technology. If they feel the need to at least put it there through the cloud, that's at least some way to deliver it. And again, them working all these different ecosystems together under this universal app store, something to keep an eye on there. Next up, let's talk about Earthbound on the Switch. This was an announcement that was made during that direct that Earthbound and Earthbound Beginnings would be heading to the online service immediately. And there was something that was really cool that was found on the Switch and on their website. Nintendo Life posted up a screen capture of this QR code, and apparently it leads directly to a strategy guide for Earthbound from Nintendo that's done in an entire PDF format. So you can download it and just read through this. I think it's over 100 pages for this strategy guide. Look, we can see some of it here. And this is the Earthbound Player's Guide. And there's a lot of information in here, some really cool artwork, a ton of backstory, and obviously strategy so you can get through the game easier. But it's so weird how Nintendo treats Earthbound, because for the longest time, it feels like they've been trying to ignore Earthbound and obviously Mother 3. Can't say Mother 3 in a Nintendo Direct or anywhere around that website, but it just feels like they forget about this thing. All of a sudden they remember it and then they're like, oh yeah, here's a 130-page PDF. You can download it, read through it, help you through the game. It's something I would like to see them do, by the way, for a lot of their games, do these strategy guides, because while it's hard to find them just out, like when you're like looking around online or shopping or anything, it's difficult to find them in good condition. It'd be pretty cool to just have Nintendo, who you figure probably has access to these strategy guides, scan them and put them up online for you to look through. But hey, a pretty cool thing for them to do there for Earthbound fans. In our last bit of news, and I'm not even kidding, let's talk about Dead Island 2. Do you remember this game when it was first shown off in a trailer? I think it was on PlayStation's YouTube account even. It's at least where I saw it. It was 2014, back at E3. It's been a long time since we've heard really anything tangible about this. There have been a lot of rumors and talks about it kind of bouncing around between different publishers and studios, but apparently it's getting ready to be released this year. We can see this over on VGC, where they say Dead Island 2 is still in active development at Dambuster Studios and could release this year, it's claimed. This, according to Tom Henderson, who posted up a YouTube video going over this, speaking with people close to the game's development, saying, according to everyone that I've been speaking to, the game's decent state, and it could be announced pretty soon with some kind of gameplay trailer. A release date expected to be somewhere in Q4 2022, possibly leading up to next year. If there is any problem with the development cycle, even going over some of the details around like the opening part, saying you're on a plane, there's a zombie outbreak on a plane, and eventually the plane just crashes into Hollywood and you survive, and it's your job to survive on the ground. Now, we did have like some like prototype footage of this game leak out 2 years ago, I think, and that was allegedly from 2015. So yeah, this game's been in development for a long time. It's been passed around, and you know, it would be one of those things. I know we talked about Scalebound getting canceled. I honestly thought Dead Island 2 was just canceled at one point. So if it does eventually come out, it might be that legendary status of like, wow, it actually happened. It took like 8+ years since they originally shown the game for it to come out, but here it is. Doesn't necessarily mean the game's going to be good, but I guess the opening scene sounds cool. You're on a plane and it crashes after a zombie outbreak, and then I guess you just have an open world, kind of some RPG elements thrown in there with some action scenes. Could be fun, although I do wonder if the zombie phase has sort of passed us by. I'm enjoying Dying Light 2, but it is certainly calling to a previous time when zombie games and plot lines were a bit more interesting and new. But hey, you never know. Maybe Dead Island 2 had some really cool concept that they just couldn't nail down back then and they figured it out. But I guess we'll keep our eyes out for a trailer to drop showing off Dead Island 2 in 2022. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're gonna take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, Earthbound is now available on Nintendo Online Service. Have you played it before? And 73% said no. Maybe Nintendo has a point with the other 3 stuff. I mean, it's on the Nintendo Online Service now. I think it's worth checking out. It's a different RPG. It's a quirky RPG. It's an RPG you're not going to really get that experience from anywhere else. It is a strange game, but I think it's a really fun experience, and it's on the online service. It's worth checking out. Give it a couple of hours and see what you think about it. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Pizza saying, the Direct didn't have everything I wanted to see, but had a lot of good stuff coming out with Fire Emblem, Xenoblade, and Mario Strikers. If it was this good, I can only imagine what we will see for holiday releases on the next one. Let's hope for some big hitters with Zelda, Metroid, and possibly Mario Odyssey. Maybe not all in one swing, but 1 or 2 of them. I mean, the obvious one would be the Breath of the Wild. That is what a lot of people is hoping is like their big pillar for the holiday, maybe in November. I mean, the fact that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is set up for September, yeah, certainly leaves a spot in October, November, and then maybe even in like that first week of December. Bayonetta will fit in there somewhere, but yeah, a lot of possibilities. And remember, we would expect a Direct sometime in June. I mean, there's not going to be an E3, so maybe we'll just place it around Summer Game Fest and just kind of call it a day there. But something tells me 2022 is going to be a massive year for Nintendo, because while it's already looking good, I think there's still some pretty big things to come. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today, like Resident Evil 4 Remake. What do you think about some of those changes that could be made by Capcom? And then also, what about Call of Duty on the Switch? Do you think that's going to happen here in the next couple of years after Microsoft takes over Activision? And then the whole thing around Dead Island 2, are you surprised that we could actually see this thing this year? Thanks guys for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time for Newswave.